Hello everyone, my name is Paul Lassette. I am the webmaster of the website apprendreilharmonica.com, and what you see before you is the upcoming version 2 of the Harmonica Trainer application, which will be available very soon on the website. There are quite a few changes compared to version 1, especially in the harmonica diagram, and above all, the addition of new modules that make the application much more comprehensive. I'll start by introducing the module we can call the command module, which is up here at the top. Playback, exercise, tablature, file editing and duration. This is the module that allows you to control playback and generate training content. First we have the playback of the tablature. Here, of course, by starting playback with the little button here, play. When I hover the mouse over a button, a small window appears with the description of the button. Here you can loop the tablature. Here you can activate a metronome, adjust the tempo here. Activate a drone. That is a sustained note that will be played throughout the time you play your tablature. So here it's set to G, but of course you have the option to set the drone to any key you want and to adjust the application's overall volume. Next we have a very important section, exercise generation. Here you can create exercises based on different scales and different positions. When I click on the treble clef icon here, a window opens that I can move around. I'll scroll up in the app here, there we go, and I can choose a scale or a position from the options provided here. There are quite a few of them. These are already the most common positions and scales, at least in the pentatonic system, the ones used most often. You can also choose a level, in other words, either a beginner level, where holes 4 to 6 are played without bends. The intermediate level covers holes 2 to 6, but with simple bends. The advanced level includes the whole harmonica with all bends, but without overnotes. And an expert level with bends, all the holes of the harmonica, and including overblows and overdraws. By default, the melodies that are generated end on the tonic, meaning the key of the piece finishes the melody. If you click on Do Not End on the Tonic, the melodies simply won't end on the tonic. You have several possible lengths, 1 bar, 2 bars, or 4 bars for the length of your melody. I'll give you an example. I'll choose 1 bar here in blues. In second position at an advanced level, using the whole harmonica with all the bends. I generate the tablature. It appears here. Of course you can play it. You can loop it, you can add a metronome at the same time, and you'll see there are other functions you can use with it. Thanks to the exercise section, let's continue. Here you can play the notes of the generated melody, you can have them played or mix them randomly. I click once, and if I listen, they are the same notes, they've just changed places. I click again. That sounds like a great idea. I can certainly also play the melody that was just generated, in both an ascending and a descending manner for you. Of course, this can be combined with looping. You can see the notes light up here on the harmonica to show you the movement on the instrument. And of course, you can also add a metronome to it. Of course, you can change the tempo, slow it down, speed it up naturally. You can also play 8th notes, swing 8 notes triplets. In other words, if there are 8 notes in the phrase, they will be played as triplets. You can click here on the D so that the note durations change. That is to say, you have the same notes kept in the same order, but the durations will change. In other words, instead of having an 8th note, a quarter note, a half note, you might have a 16th note, a triplet, etc. We do it here. Now you have a 16th note, an 8th note, an 8th note, a quarter note. For example, at the beginning, if I click on the D here, it switches to 16th note, so it's very fast. Okay, I click on the D again. This time I have a 16th note, an 8th note, a quarter note, a 16th note, a 16th note, a quarter note, a dotted 8th note, and a 16th note. My notes stay in the same order. If I want to change them, I click on the shuffle button. You have a function here to work on your velocity. If you choose a metronome at 80 here, a tempo of 80 here, that tempo will be the starting tempo for practice, and here, the ending tempo, 180. If you start playback and you've chosen here, number 4, like number 3 as a number, whatever you want, 4 for example. In fact, the application will loop your tablature, and with each pass, it will increase by 4 points until it reaches 180. It will start at 80 and go up to 180. So it's very practical for working on your speed while following the tablature and playing along with the application at the same time. Here you have the tablature module to display either the tablature on the screen, the notes in international notation, or the Roman numeral notation. I'll stay with tablature here. You can choose the key of your harmonica. Here, the 12 harmonica keys available on the market. And with just one click, you can lower your entire phrase by an octave or raise it by an octave. There you go, all the notes are transposed 1 octave higher. Of course, I can bring it back down. If in the tablature there is a note, like here, the -2, that can't be played an octave lower, because there isn't a note lower than -2 and the octave below, when you click on the octave down here, the tablature will not be transposed. Next, you have a file module here to save your tablatures in a library, to save them in JSON format, to open a JSON, MIDI or XML file, to import a tablature in text format, plus, minus, etc. To export in MIDI format, to export in XML format, which is a format that can be read by software like MuseScore, Guitar Pro, etc. Sheet music editors. And also print to PDF or create a PDF or print your tablature. Here you have the edit mode to undo or redo an action, erase all actions and click here to get help and a shortcut. I'd also like to mention that at the bottom of the application you have the user manual here. Just click on it for the manual to appear. You can scroll through it here and close it either here or by clicking on user manual. Finally, you have all the note durations available here. Whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, triplets, dots. So the dot adds half of its value to a note. The quarter rest, the eighth rest, and the 16th rest. These are the most common note durations. When you choose a note duration, here I select a quarter note, and you click on a number here on a tablature, the tablature appears here with the note duration you selected. You can write your own scores by choosing the note durations and selecting the note you want to play here. Either you choose the tablature or you select a note here. If you want a friend, it's here. You can switch back to tablature afterwards. A nice feature is the note recognition module. 2 functions. The first function is to play the notes from a tablature, and the app will tell you if you're playing them correctly or not. If I erase the tablature here by clicking on the trash can, here, everything, I erase everything. I have a tablature suggested here. I click on it. I'm going to click here to play the tablature. I have to play the 6 blow. If I'm correct, the note is outlined in green. Here I have a 6 blow. Let's say I make a mistake, I get red. Okay, because I'm wrong, and that's it. When I finish the exercise, a window pops up that I can move, which tells me that I have 3 validated notes. I eventually found the 3 notes, but I did make 2 mistakes before getting there, and that the average tuning accuracy of my harmonica is 4 cents, which is excellent in terms of accuracy. The excellent here refers to the tuning accuracy. You can close here and start the exercise again. The second way to use the note recognition here is to enter it yourself by playing your tablature on the harmonica. So I recommend playing clear and well-defined notes and not playing at too fast a tempo so that your microphone can properly pick up all the notes you want to play. We set a tempo here, not too fast. We'll set it to 60, so we have a metronome to help us stay in time while playing. I'm going to set it to 60. There we go, here. I'm going to click on Start Listening, but before that, I'll click on Write the Notes of the Tablature in the tablature. Now I'm going to start listening. I stop the listening and we can listen to the tablature with the button. Play here. If the application has accidentally identified an incorrect note, I can simply select that specific note and then click on the Delete Note button. After that, I listen to the audio once again. And of course, I can export my tablature in MuseScore format, so XML. I click on it. The tablature will automatically be sent to my Downloads folder. I click on it. And when I click on my Downloads folder in the file that was sent to me, I can open it in MuseScore. It opens in another window, so I'll show you what opened here. There you go. And if I play it in MuseScore, of course, in MuseScore, you can also display tablature using the plugin I created, add colors, and generate the different tablatures for this score. In MuseScore, you just need to delete the duplicate here with the playback and linking, and you're good to go. If you listen again, you can follow the tablature. Of course, all the tablatures you create can be saved in a library here. Save the current one. So if you don't enter a name, the tablature will be saved with the date. Otherwise, you can enter a name here to give it a specific name. If, for example, you save a piece, you'll get LIC number 1. It doesn't matter, you can name your tablature whatever you want. And that way, you'll be able to save your tablatures. And you can also export them here to keep them on your PC. Another very important module here is the Chromatic Tuner module. I click on the title, the Chromatic Tuner appears here, and when I activate it, it will be applied on the left. Also, the live play trace will be displayed. I'll explain all of this to you. Before you start playing with your tuner, you'll need to calibrate it because your harmonica isn't necessarily tuned to 440. We'll check all of that. I'm drawing in on hole 4, draw note. Indeed, we can see that my curve here shows me a draw on hole 4, but my needle here isn't really in the center. So I'll need to calibrate my tuner so that my needle comes to the center. Right now, I'm talking, so of course it's moving, because it's picking up the sound of my voice. So I'm going to draw on hole 4 again, and while I'm drawing, I'll press since my needle is to the right. I'm going to press the little triangle here on the right to add the extra hertz and calibrate with my harmonica. There we go. So I had to click 3 times to get my harmonica in tune, which is calibrated with my tuner. My harmonica is at 443 Hz, which is completely normal. Most harmonicas are at 442, 443 or 444, depending on the country where they're made, Japan, Germany, France, the tuning varies. So once I've calibrated my harmonica, I can work on my bends. They will be displayed here. The holes I play will appear here as horizontal lines. You'll see I start with hole 4, draw, and then I'll bend hole 4, draw. You see it clearly shows me D flat here, and my needle is right in the middle, and I can even scroll back with my mouse wheel and visualize properly, concretely, what happens when I bend. So I draw hole 4, it's indicated on the red line. Here, I've bent the note, you can see my curve going down here, and I get the D flat here when I cross over my green line here. There you go, that's it. So now I'm right on, and I've played a D flat, what we call a D flat 5, that's octave 5. As for the tuner, I stop the tuner and close it. When I close it, both panels, both modules close as well. Next, the following module. Here, you can record in audio what you are currently playing. In other words, I'm recording here. And let's listen. There you go. This is a handy way to have a sort of reminder. If you work on this riff later, you can play it again afterwards to rework it with the tablature. Of course, you can also download it here, or slow down, or speed up the playback. And you can also download it with this button here. It's a web format because it's a lightweight format, the web format. Finally, the last module, the musical dictation module. Not the least important, because this one will help you work on your speed. You have the option to ask the application to play between 2 and 6 notes, which you will need to memorize and recognize. Several game levels. Beginner, from hole 4 to hole 6. Intermediate, the whole harmonica, but without bends. Advanced, the whole harmonica, but without overnotes and with bends, and for experts, everything is included, bends, overnotes, and natural notes, all at the same time. If you trigger the new idea, you will hear the notes here, so I will select 4 notes. And if I trigger a new idea, a new dictation, if you haven't recognized it, if you can't figure it out, you can click reveal and the tablature will appear here. I'm not going to do that. I'll try to figure out by ear what was played. I can listen to the melody again here. I can practice before answering with the microphone. I figured it out, so now I can click on the microphone. Dictation successful, 0 mistakes on the second listen. So this is very useful for training your ear accuracy, your speed, and your ability to quickly improvise notes instinctively. That's it for this overview of the features of Harmonica Trainer version 2. The app is being finalized and will soon be available on the website apprenderharmonica.com. Thank you for listening to me up to this point and see you very soon.